Creature Caster has done it again.
Spiky Bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Baer from SpikyBits.com. We've got a fresh look at the latest Creature Caster release for 2020. Now, this is the Lord of Sacrifice. They sent us, I guess it's an early copy. They showed it off at LVO back in January or so. And this model, it's not like anything they've done before. They're trying to come out with a whole new line of, I think it's called the Tyranny line. And it's kind of interesting to check out. Like I kind of get it, like how they're doing it, setting up all these themes and everything, and it's really neat to see. So they sent us this one over to talk about with y'all, and they sent us some pictures. It's not on their site. I'm just going to take a look at the pictures and hope I can get this thing together and be able to figure out what goes with what here in a few minutes for you. So real quick, if you want to get yours, because probably by the time you actually see this video, this model will be out for sale. So you can just go over to creaturecaster.com and you can log in depending, oh, you can't see it right here, but depending on what country you're in, you can kind of select the warehouse and also the currency to kind of pay in, which is really neat. Now remember too, they also have the remastered versions of their Pro acrylic line, which I think comes in 22 milliliter bottles instead of 18, I want to say. Haven't really looked it up quite yet, but there's almost 60 of these paints now between all the different sets. So make sure you check that one out. Now, when this model is released, I keep saying that because it's not over here. I think it's going to be out around Valentine's Day weekend. However, you're probably seeing this after that. So from what I understand, it's going to be about $59 US, just like the normal Lord miniatures that they come out with, which definitely makes sense. The last one being the twins here. And then of course we saw, what was it before that? We had the big ones, and then the matriarchs came out about last Adepticon time. So then they had the ladies, which is pretty much the same as the Lord's miniatures line of models here. Now it'll probably show up right here, and there'll probably be a new classification over here for like tyranny, so to speak. But when you pop into this page, chances are that it's just going to show the normal generic page, so you kind of have to scroll down to demons to actually find these guys. Now I have a little bit of copy about what this particular line is all about, so I'm going to read that to you real quick, and then we're going to kind of move on and take a look at the miniature itself. So the Lord of Sacrifice is the first demon model from Creature Caster in their 6th and final demonic faction. Interesting. So maybe they're going to be expanding out to bigger and more differenter model lines out there. I know I have a wish list of things I'd like to see from them. The demons of tyranny are obsessed with the rule of law and construct vast and sprawling civilizations in which the strongest rule with callous brutality over the populace. A stratified caste system ruled over by a spawning bureaucracy exists within their civilization and governs every aspect of daily life. Magistrates, judges, and executioners patrol the streets, ensuring that the law is upheld and punishing any who are caught deviating from their prescribed duties. I wonder what that sounds like. But what really holds the civilization together is the power of the contract. Demons of tyranny are capable of creating contracts that are scribed onto the soul, resulting in deals that cannot be broken without dire consequences. The key component to all deals are the coins of sacrifice, more commonly referred to as scrya. Once a scrya has changed hands, a contract is formed, whether written or not, that must be fulfilled. The Lords of Sacrifice are responsible for the minting of these coins, upon which their entire civilization depends. Each coin must be doused in the blood of a victim who have been offered up to the dormant dragon god that the demons of tyranny worship. Great pyramid temples are built over giant crevasses that crisscross the lands governed by tyranny. The crevasses, which seemingly have no bottom, are believed to lead all the way down to Neron, the dragon. Each pyramid is a center of activity where victims are offered for sacrifice, and coins are dispersed in return. Part priest, part executioner, part merchant, the Lords of Sacrifice offer the blood of countless victims to their god, and in doing so bind the power of blood and souls into gold and brass. very interesting. I wonder if that has something to do with those life counters, or even the little round things that they give out with these with the larger models sometimes. I wonder if that's the little coins they talk about here. That's pretty neat. The Lord of Sacrifice is cast in pure unfilled resin. He comes in a custom 60mm round base, and is, I don't have the measurement here, but it's probably, guessing it's probably about 7 inches tall, but we'll find out here in a minute. From the bottom of the scenic base to the top of the horns. That is the Lord of Sacrifice. So you've probably been staring at this breakdown for more than a hot minute, but I thought it was important to kind of read a little bit about the description of this model, because normally we don't do that, but this is kind of like a new thing, and I guess the last of their demon models, which is kind of neat to see there. So this model has a whole lot going on with it, of course, and you can see where, let's see, let me get this. Oh, we got more right here. So there's an instruction. So here's the central of the model. It looks like it comes with 2 heads. It has these little strong hands in the front, 2 different weapon options here, and this isn't a walking stick, it's some sort of axe, it looks like. And then the sword is probably going to do the come at me bro pose and kind of lock into the base right here. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of detail on the top of this base. And Puff the Magic Dragon hands over here, open hand, and 2 weapon hands over here, tail. Looks pretty interesting. I'm not sure how it's all going to go together. It looks like there's a lot of horns in different areas right here. Let's take a look at the assembly instructions. Now, generally they put this out on their community page on their site or over on their Instagram. I think they've been doing that too. So if you need instructions, they're not going to come in a box. Just remember, you're going to have to scoop these up. So here's the instructions here. Choice of head, which kind of makes sense. And lots going on. Lots of little horns or something, or maybe there's something a little bit more ornate. I can't really tell. And it's very, I want to say Japanese, but that might not be the correct. I'm definitely getting a solid Japanese vibe off this, and these big tassels out here. Looks like this is the back section with some skulls or bone or something like that, and then the wings themselves are a 2-part kind of deal to get that good detail in there with the supporting frame, and those lock in. And let's see. Looks like the legs go on separately, and the tail kind of wraps around the front. Let's see if there's anything else. One more piece here. So there's the axe that we talked about. Looks like the heft goes on there, and then the sword just kind of locks back. Or you can have the open arm option. Puff the Magic Dragon over here. Doesn't look like there's any other option, unfortunately, but still not too shabby looking. So 24 steps in this. Doesn't seem too bad, and there's pretty decent amount of options right there in my opinion. Here are the parts all broken out for this miniature right here. It's going to come with a bag of smaller parts, but we're not going to bust that open because it looks like a lot of this is connected to the sprue, which is great because it'll be easier to find. And then everything seems to have a part number too, which is kind of neat because remember there's 24 steps. So I didn't line these up quite yet, but it's definitely good to know they're there. So the larger chunks of things are definitely easier to see, and you can notice where the legs are going to kind of lock in here. Now, detail-wise, and we'll show you more of this once we get it assembled, but there's a lot going on here. Like, these guys are kind of creepy. Like, you know, definitely an Asian, not sure which kind of vibe. This, like, reverse little crazy ribcage sort of thing. I don't even know what's going on with it, but it's pretty interesting to say the least. Definitely reminds me of some GW Bone Reaper kind of type deal here. And then this is the ginormous axe and heft that's got some more skulls and stuff on there. A little bit of flat areas around there, so you can definitely do some work. And this is got a little bit of texture on it, and that's just flashing right there. Now the capes are kind of interesting because they got a lot going on here with you know, there you go, you can kind of see the texture in them. So there's a lot of texture in there, and these will lock in, and it looks like they're hollow on the ends right there, and I'm not sure where this goes quite yet, but that might need a little bit of cleanup. And then here's the sword, which locks into the bottom of the base. Now things like this generally aren't too bad because they kind of think ahead, but if you have a problem clipping this, you can always put down a little bit of blue tack and then cut it with an X-Acto, and the blue tack should hold the 2 parts together, so you won't get like any cracks or anything on your part right here, which would be unfortunate if you snap that sword. That's not as intended, but looks like there's some kind of areas up here to kind of clean up, so look out for that. But I'm liking it so far, and it's very ornate. These wings are something else going on. Like, let me see if I can tilt it to see. So there's a lot of detail in here. So not only did I have these little ribbed areas, but also on the inside, there's some impressions and things. So if you want to do some wet blending and some washes, you definitely can. And then it's got all this little twists and everything on the back. There's a little bit better of a look at it right there. So let's take a look at the assembled version. Swoosh, there he is. Check this bad boy out. It's a pretty neat kit once you get it all together. There's lots of dynamic three-dimensional components to it, but I don't feel like it's prohibitive to actually painting. You should be able to get in there for the most part, and still be able to do some work in whether it's airbrush or with the paintbrush and stuff. I mean, you could theoretically assemble it in sections, because you got some points of contact right here if you want. But I mean, once you get in there, there's definitely a lot of work you can do with glazes and wet blending. So maybe some base coats and then assemble it. I don't know, either way. It's got this, we did this like bat head sort of thing right here. I don't know what's going on. It's got like a bat nose up on top. Again, this is a very interesting miniature. I mean, Creature Caster definitely thinks outside of the envelope a lot of times, with like kind of pushing things along art style, and just mixing up a bunch of different like pop culture and maybe even a little fantasy elements, so to speak, right there. And I like this sword. I kind of would have liked to see the axe. I think it'd be a little bit bigger up here, but I mean, other than that, you can't really complain about it. And then I forgot to show you. Well, I didn't show you all the detail down in here, where the little like lost souls, and we saw these little like lost souls sort of things. I think these were on the, what was it, the Queen of Decay. So they were kind of coming out of her intestines, and now these guys are kind of hanging out down here. Now, not a lot of texture on the base, so you can definitely do some crazy stuff. But where we saw in the past, I had like a super detailed basis, so maybe they're just kind of taking a little bit of departure from that, so you can do some marbling effects or something with the dryer sheets or the still wool, whatever you want. And then lots going on right in here. So while there is a lot of large flat areas on this miniature, there's still a lot of room to do some detail work and have some really cool effects and things going on if you were to kind of paint it up, and that tail's pretty legit as well. Now, just kind of slap this thing together so that you are going to see some of the gaps and everything. If you have any issues with yours, when you put yours together, just use a little of the Vallejo plastic putty, which I pretty much recommend all the time in like every video. Pick you up a tube of this. Even if you accidentally squeeze it too hard and blow out the back end, you can always patch it up with a little duct tape. Or you can use a super thin Tamiya glue, but I wouldn't probably use that on resin. That's probably better for plastic, but it's good to have in your hobby toolbox, because I can tell you what the two things I pretty much use the most outside of glue, clippers, and knife is those two items right there. Now let's compare this bad boy to some models that you might already be a little bit more familiar with. Well, first off, I think we should probably measure this, because we don't have an official measurement on it. So it's about 5.5 inches tall. I don't think about 5.5 inches tall. So about, 2 to 3 inches shorter than the Queens or the King series that they do. And I don't think having that axe on here would be much bigger. So that's probably fine. So Demon, comparing to a Demon Prince, well, there's the traditional GW Demon Prince size right there. So base is pretty much the same, but it is a little bit taller. I imagine whenever they do finally get around to resizing this, that they're going to be pretty close to this size right here. So future proofing, Creature Caster may really come in clutch here in the future if we ever see some demon updates. And then as far as like the greater demons, which we saw a few years ago, well, they are more on par kind of with the greater demon, but not really like the wingspan or anything like that. Even if it's like the Bloodthirster, or I guess the Nurgle one would be a little bit more stout. So it's about that big, but it's on, obviously a different size base. So great comparison, size-wise, as far as that goes. I don't really think anybody have a problem with you using this in a game of Warhammer 40K, but there are the folks out there that a little bit more really into it than you would like, I suppose, if you wanted to play with this. So it's a pretty neat little model right there, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the line is going to look like from Creature Caster. So that's it for this one, kind of a little preview, but I'm sure by the time this drops, it'll already be out there for sale. So just to give you an idea of the new line that's coming out from creaturecaster.com, and of course you can run over there and check out your own, and be sure to maybe scoop up some of the new Pro Acryl paints too. I haven't used them myself, but I've heard nothing but good things about them. So where there's smoke, there's fire in my book right there. Do me a favor and hit that subscription button and turn on notifications so you can be the very first to like and comment on all our future videos.